This is the kickoff for a minimal data viewer prototype I'll be selling as a data product to higher management. It displays echarts interactive plots over advanced calculations and predictions in Python. Something I usually do in Streamlit, but I wanted some extra client-side interactivity today. So if you've wanted to see the switch from Streamlit echarts to your first interactive full-stack web app, this is a good quick start video. Open your favorite code editor and create a new index.html file within a static folder. If you're using VS Code, type an exclamation mark and press enter to transform this Emmet shortcut into HTML boilerplate. Proceed to the body section. Open a new main tag to act as a container for our title and charts. Inside the main container, insert a new h1 tag with the name of your app. Under your app title, add a new section tag to act as a box for a row of charts. Within this box, nest in two div tags to treat as empty HTML boxes, and for now you can fill them with words like main chart and auxiliary chart. Do you want to know what it looks like? Save your HTML file and double-click on it from your Explorer to open it with your browser of choice. A better alternative is to serve the file through a web server like the live server VS Code extension or by running Python HTTP server in the static folder. Then you can connect to the localhost port of the web server with your preferred web browser. Now your browser applies its default styles to the app, which makes it a bit vintage and inconsistent across the browsers. If HTML is responsible for defining what appears on the page, it is the role of CSS to define how each element looks like and where it is positioned. First, I want to normalize the look of the app across browsers. Don't worry, we will use a minimal CSS theme like the Pico.css theme to help us out. Copy the usage from CDN link tag from the installation page and paste it into the head section to have your browser download Pico.css on the fly before rendering the HTML body. The Pico.css library applies its own styles to semantic HTML tags such as the main, the section, and the tag with a container CSS class. Next, let's target the chart section and its children tags that will host our charts. Provide a unique identifier to each div, like an ID main and an ID aux. Then add a CSS class chart container to the host of those two charts. Time to apply CSS properties to those three elements. Create a new style tag in the head section of your file. This is where you write CSS code to target HTML elements and define CSS attributes. For example, target every h1 tag in the HTML body and attribute them a greenish color. Then target the unique main ID and aux ID and give each of those a flashy background color. This is a little ugly, but it's a common trick to debug the current layout of your app. The child items are not side by side and there's no gap between the two items. Target every tag that has the CSS class of chart container. We apply one of the most important CSS attributes you'll need to know as a beginner full-stack data analyst. It's so important that it's coming soon in Streamlit, the flex layout. Enforce a flex display to the container of charts and a height of 32 rem, I don't know. Refresh your browser tab to see a new country flag. Though it's a very small one that takes only the width of the text. But there are flex attributes to apply on the Flexbox child items to grow their size to the width of the parent flex container. Apply a flex1 attribute to each child item, and they will equally grow to fill up the maximum width of the flex container. If you want the left chart to grow double relative to the right chart, you can apply flex2 instead, and now you have a lot of red. For now, I want all of my chart items to take the same amount of Flexbox space, so I might as well add a chart item class to both the tags and apply the flex1 to any chart item class, so we can put any number of charts in any chart container row in the long run. There are many more Flexbox attributes to better resize and align Flex items that you'll find in this famous CSS tricks article, or just ask your favorite LLM. This looks good. Our title is beautiful, our div blocks for hosting charts are well positioned, and it's time to inject JavaScript interactive components. Go to the echarts installation page, look for the JS delivery CDN link, and copy-paste the default version into your head section to download echarts on the fly. At the end of the body block, add a new script tag to run JavaScript code. This script tag runs after the browser has built the HTML blocks, painted the blocks with CSS, and exposed them in the document, so now we can target them and manipulate them in JavaScript. From the document, get the element with an ID of main, and pass its reference into the echartInit method to create a chart instance inside that div element. Head to the echarts gallery and pick up the JSON options of the basic bar chart example. Paste it back into the JavaScript block and pass it as an argument to the echarts instance set option. Refresh your browser tab and a new chart shall appear. Okay, side note, if nothing happens and you need some logging to send to your favorite LLM, you can find logs in the developer tools of your browser. It has all the important debugging tools like an inspector tab to browse through your HTML and CSS structure, a network tab to see if it correctly downloads and reads Pico.css and echarts.js, and most importantly, a console tab, which prints any JavaScript error. For example, add a console log of your option in your JavaScript, and it will be printed in the console tab of your inspector. Now we want to fetch data for the right chart from a Python API. FastAPI is pretty popular at this point for modern Python APIs, so install FastAPI standard with your preferred Python package manager. Create a new app.py file with a FastAPI app instance, and spin it up with the FastAPI dev command. FastAPI makes for a good enough web server for static assets, so mount the public folder as an HTML folder to the public path. Now if you hit localhost 8000/public, the index.html file will be served by default. Create a dictionary of random data in your FastAPI, then a new endpoint on /data/name to return the given data for the name in the data dictionary. Back to your frontend JavaScript. Attach a mouse over event listener to the main chart. The second argument takes a JavaScript callback that is run every time your mouse goes over the echarts instance. Print out the params to understand its structure, compare it to the echarts documentation, and understand that if your mouse goes over one of the bars, you'll get a component type of series and the name of the hovered data series in the name key. Use this name parameter to make an asynchronous HTTP request from JavaScript to your FastAPI endpoint. Then capture the success of the asynchronous promise with the then method and a JavaScript callback to extract the JSON data from the response. And then just print the data in the console for now. Hover over the echarts instance, and you should see logs in your FastAPI console and logs in your browser console. This proves your frontend code is correctly pinging your Python backend for new data. Create a reference to an echarts instance stored in the tag with the ID of aux. You could send pandas data from FastAPI back into this echarts instance, but let's do it bigger. Let's build the entire echarts JSON option in Python and send it to the JavaScript frontend. Install pyecharts with your preferred Python package manager. Go look for the Python sample code to build a pyechart, and you can experiment with it in a Jupyter notebook just to make sure everything works. When you're happy with your PyPlot, move the code into your FastAPI endpoint and dump the JSON options of your chart as a stringified JSON to send to the frontend. Then back to JavaScript, receive the string JSON, parse it with the native JSON module, and inject this option into the aux chart reference. You now have a dynamic right chart that is updated from FastAPI data and parameterized by the mouse over of the main left chart. This Python to JavaScript chart management may look bizarre at first, but if you read the documentation for those JS charting libraries with a Python API, you'll see that Plotly Python dumps its options for Plotly.js, Bokeh Python can for Bokeh.js, Altair Python does it for Vega. Like, all of those Python libraries are just high-level APIs that produce JSON options for their JavaScript counterpart. And now you know the secrets behind Streamlit. So go past Python data to other JavaScript libraries like aggrid for data frame, or load out cool components with Daisy UI as a CSS framework. Your door to being a full stack data analyst has just opened. I'll see you around.